this. All right, so then everybody that bounced can see. We'll get right into it. Okay. Sweet. Sweet. So we have got basic course preview here. Has anybody ever looked up course previews on like a Strava or a VeloViewer or Ride with GPS, stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So this is a VeloViewer right here. This would be a very, very grainy, low quality Ride with GPS. Two very fantastic apps for viewing a course. So why would we do this? First of all, for a fondo, for a race, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. That filters down to little things. Where are the climbs? The corners tend to be a little bit trickier. Just if there's a lot of them, especially, look at this course, it's just a shit ton of corners. But looking at stuff like road conditions, weather, the hills, big one, being able to look at the hills. You're never going to get a very well-rounded picture of the course just by looking at a course preview. Going and riding it is the biggest thing. A climb like this can look insane on the course preview, and then you get to it and you just roll up it. Taking this with a grain of salt. So what I would like to do, we'll go over. We've kind of just looked at. I've listed things to look at. We've got these. Where do you look? VeloViewer is my favorite, and we'll be working with that today. We got Ride with GPS, Strava, Google Maps, Tech Guide, really important, weather. All of these things are tools. They're just tools to use. So I'm going to pull up VeloViewer, and we are actually going to do a course preview. This is the very first Spring Series race. This is Thunderbird. And this is a course that I drew up previous to this, just so we could all get a good picture of it. Let's see. So I'm going to just point out a couple things. Can everybody see this all good?
Yep.
My end? Awesome. So start finish line right here at this gap-ish. It's going to be in this range. I wasn't able to get anything super, super exact. Start finish, somewhere around here. When we're looking at a course like this, there's a couple things that stand out. So we've got this corner here, this corner here, this corner here, this corner here, and this corner behind Andrew's head right here. So fairly simple course. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners with this backside climb. When we're looking at climbs on this course, we've got this long climb up to the finish. We've got this climb over here. This whole climb is sort of meandering up. This whole side of the course goes up all the way up to the far corner, and then it descends down. So it's a fairly flat course. There's not too much elevation on this course. There's enough to make a difference. When we're looking at a flatter course like this, where the hills are definitely going to, they will have an effect, but they're not going to have as drastic an effect as, say, this race course, for instance, right here, where you're looking at red and yellow, stuff like that. So when we're looking at this course, I would call this a fairly flat course. Couple things. It's a 6-kilometer lap. That means you're going to be touching every section of this course multiple times. Wind becomes the main factor. Wind is going to dictate if it's strong, right? If there's no wind, the climbs will become more of a factor. If there is wind, the wind is going to really dictate this race. So I have a wind app up. Everybody can access this, windyapp.com. Here's our course. this spring series race is going to be raced in 4 or 5 weeks. So I can't actually remember. This is the weather for tomorrow, or today actually is maybe the current weather. So what we're going to do is just pretend that this wind is what the course will be like when we race. And that will give us another tool to be able to analyze this course. So we've got, I would call this fairly light wind, but still wind going east-west across the course. So if we look here, our corners here, our finish line is up here. All right. And then we've got a long climb all the way up to this corner here, but a very gradual climb. Any questions so far? We're kind of just churning through this. Okay, awesome. And again, this is just basic how to read a course. And we're going to get more into the nitty gritty of how it affects things right now. If there's no questions, just make sure we've got Monty still here. Beautiful. All right. So we have wind coming from this direction across the course, east to west. Start finish line is here. Wind east to west. What is that going to mean? I know, Monty, you've probably reviewed courses before. What is that going to mean for our course furniture, the segments, the climbs, the corners? What is that going to mean? So we want to start walking through that course. Does anybody have any ideas? And this is, I just really, I'm not asking because it's complicated, it's simple, but I just want people thinking about just the basics of what happens if you've got a headwind on a climb. Like, what happens?
Where to position yourself based on the course and where the wind is.
Totally. Yeah. And even simpler than that, what's happening. So we've got a crosswind coming across like this, crosswind coming across the course. What is that going to mean? So we can start at the start finish line. What is that going to mean for the start finish?
You might want to try to be on the outside of the peloton to be protected from the wind.
Totally. So we've got a crosswind finish, crosswind climb finish. We've got a crosswind coming into this corner, and then we are going to have more or less a headwind up to this point. What does a headwind mean on a climb?
For fat guys like me, it makes it even harder.
No, actually makes it easier.
What?
Makes it way easier. Guy on the front is going to be sitting in the wind, right? Whole pace of the group is going to be slower.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
A headwind makes the climb easier if you're sitting on the wheels. If you're on the front, whole different story. But we're going to assume that we're doing this smart and we're in the wheels on the climb. So a headwind on a climb makes it easier. We're going to gradually come around over this section of the course onto the back section away from the start finish. Wind is coming across. This is going to be the hardest part of the course right here. Reason for that, can everybody see all right? I know it may be a little smaller on your screens. So we're going to be climbing. We're going to hit this climb here, and it is going to be blowing direct crosswind. So the chances of it being guttered on the right side as you hit this climb are high if the wind is strong. This section here, people will be attacking over. So this is going to be the hardest section of the course by far. So if we're thinking position, our positioning starts back here. We want to be near the front, near the front, near the front, near the front. If we're thinking about sag climbing, which is where you start at the front of a group and finish the climb, start at the front on a climb and finish at the back. If we're thinking about places to sag climb, this is not one. This is the climb where you, every lap, go a little bit deeper than you think you should, because you're going to pop out over the top of this climb. And if you have sag climbed it and you're at the back, well, guess what? Suddenly you have this entire straightaway in just guttered crosswinds, and you've sag climbed to the back of the group. So you've saved a little bit of energy here, and then you're going to pay for it all the way through here. So sacrificing a match, burning a match through here is going to allow you to save some energy through this section. And then we turn the corner, tailwind descent. This is where I'd say get some food in, get some water in. Like you're going to be gassed through this section. Recover, 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 recover. Tailwind. Tailwind means the group is going to be going quite fast. It also means that you will not be gaining draft as readily, right? You've got wind blowing from behind you, 2 riders. Wind blowing from behind means you are not going to get the same benefit of the draft as if the wind is blowing from in front and you're sheltered. So the draft benefit is less in a tailwind. So through this section, if you are in good position through here, you will stay in good position. It is much harder to pass in a tailwind. So stay in good position. I don't even think you're going to notice this climb. I think you're going to roll into this. I don't even think you're going to feel this. For those that have raced this course before, maybe you can correct me if I'm completely out of left field. Here's where we get into the corners, and the wind is going to play a factor in our corners here, because as we hit this corner here, it's going to be a tailwind into this corner, which means it's going to be fast. So it's going to come up a lot faster than you think. You're going to make a right, brief section of crosswind. I don't think it's going to be enough to make a difference. And then into tailwind again, into a downhill, into a pretty fast right-hander, and then a descent into the climb to the finish. And this is just going to be a drag, as well as a crosswind. So when we look at this course initially, we see climbs. We go, okay, these are going to be the effort sections. When we add in the wind factor, we go, actually, this course looks completely different. So when I look at this course with no wind factor, I go, okay, this is going to be a pretty on and off course. There's going to be a climb section up through here. There's going to be a recovery section through here, and then a climb section, no wind. I look at this course with wind and I go, okay, wow, this is going to be a pretty steady effort through the whole race, because this is a tailwind section. This will be the most recovery, right? The headwind will nullify the climb. And our 2 sections, flat sections here, are going to be hard because of crosswinds. So in that way, this is going to be steady effort because it's a climb. This is going to be steady hard effort because it's crosswind. This will be your 1 recovery section. Corners, people will be gassing it out of corners. And this section, I would guess, will be your hardest section through here. Crosswind, climb. Any questions? I know that was a really quick run through.
Would you say between crosswind climb and headwind climb, what's more difficult?
Crosswind climb by far.
Okay. So you want to position yourself the opposite side of the wind and the peloton.
Totally. Well,
does in terms of crosswind, does position in terms of like front, mid, or back of the peloton matter at all?
Probably the most important part, right? So when you are positioned 20th wheel and the guy in 15th blows a gasket and pulls out of the line, and suddenly there's a gap, you have to close it. Or somebody else maybe miraculously will close it in the wind. If you're top 5, the chances of somebody in the top 5 blowing a gasket are much slimmer. All of that shrapnel is happening behind you. So if you ever watched a race like Omloop Van Nieuwsblad, if you've ever watched a race like Paris-Roubaix, if you've ever watched any of the spring flat classics, you will see echelons across the road. And if you are not in the top 20, you are not in the first echelon. So that's the basics of how to read a course. What do you think, Saida? Any other questions?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Guess that's why my turn Rouge likes crosswind chaos so much.
totally. Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't talk about headwind chaos as much.
Yeah, and headwind is the easiest group dynamic to ride, right? The guys on the front are going to be going slow. You're going to be on the wheels. Hopefully, you can ride nice and chill. So it almost when you're going out for a group ride or ride by yourself, the headwind section's the hardest. When we're talking race, headwind section's the easiest. So it flips your idea of what is hard and easy on its head. Tailwind in a race, or tailwind in a group ride, or your own individual ride, pretty fun. You get to fly. Tailwind in a race, you're going to be doing the same amount of watts as the person that you're behind, or very nearly, right? So if we're looking at this course, where do you attack?
That last back climb corner, right before the corner.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant one. So if we're looking at wind dynamics here, right? Anywhere in here, I'd say is a great place to attack. Anywhere through here. And just like you said, Andrew, this little climb right here, perfect. You're going to get a corner. You're going to have a tailwind and a downhill. That is going to nullify the chase effect. If you're attacking through here, you might get an initial gap through here, but the group rolling up this climb is going to roll much faster than you by yourself, just by the slingshot effect of drafting. So when we're looking at attacking on a course, we are thinking very multidimensionally about this. Now, when we look at a course like this, it's very easy to start going into the nitty gritty of strategy. Who's going to do the when's the race going to blow apart? What's the course reading is a basic tool to go, here is what I know about this course. The race may unfold completely differently than you think, and you have to be able to adjust. So when we're talking about this, I'm not going to go into strategy. I'm not going to talk about I'm doing this and you're doing this here. It doesn't matter. What I'm looking for is to analyze this course and go, here's what may happen. Here's what the group's dynamics may be, right? If I'm communicating this to my teammates, right, I will say, here's a good place to do this. Here's a good place to do this. Here's what it may look like today. Rather than sitting down and going, I'm going to attack right here, because that never happens. All I want to do today is give you guys the tools to be able to look at a race course and dissect it logically. And that's it. And walking through what we've just done, I think is the easiest way to do that. So when we're looking at another course, say it's a Fondo course, right? Take the Whistler Grand Fondo, for example. Knowing what the course looks like and what that course profile looks like, and knowing what the wind is going to be, is going to dictate, okay, well, if I want to be in the best possible group, the hardest point of the race is going to be Taylor Way. And if it's a crosswind, so say the wind is coming west to east, like it does most of the time, as soon as we turn onto the highway, it's going to be a crosswind. So that's where the next effort section happens. So it's going to be hard up Taylor Way, turn left into a headwind climb, so I can settle. And then as soon as we got to Horseshoe Bay and it turns right, it's going to be crosswind, guttered crosswind. That's where my next effort section is going to be to get in the best possible group. Say the wind's different. Say you get to the top of the Taylor Way and it's a tailwind. Well, then Taylor Way, you better smash it. So it's using this knowledge to dictate how you ride, both looking at a course, but then also reading a course if you've never seen it. So say you roll up to a spring series and we don't go over this. You haven't looked at this profile, you haven't looked at the wind, you haven't looked at the weather. You're going in blind. Being able to, on the fly, go, okay, I know we're turning right, or maybe rather than looking at a profile, you've just looked at the map, right? Just the flat map, which would be this. You've just looked at this on the tech guide. You've gone, all right, I'm going to look at the wind the day of, and it's going to be pissing rain, right? Whatever it looks like. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be cold. How am I going to dress? All of these things affect it. We're just looking at the map, being able to ride and go, okay, I know we're turning left here. I don't know if there's a climb. I'm blind in terms of that. I have no idea, but I know it's going to turn left, and I know there's going to be a crosswind here. So I'm going to position myself well on this climb. That is going to pay off. So it's both learning how to look at this and read these, fancy 3D maps, but it's also the day of. It's on you're riding to Horseshoe Bay, and you're like, okay, I know what the wind's doing, and the wind will do this. This is what this means. That's what I would like. That's what I'm trying to communicate over, looking at this course and dissecting it to death. So that's it. That's my spiel. Are there any questions? Like anything at all? Fire away.
No, I think, when it comes to, the in-race kind of stuff and how to position yourself, it really, like, there's a bunch of people in here who are all different category of riders. Like each category of race is going to pan out differently. Like, is that correct? Like senior guys will know, hey, just buy our time here. A lot of the Cat 4 or 5 guys are just going to blow themselves up on every climb.
Yep, totally. But if you know that's going to happen, then you can then race accordingly. Right? Okay, people are going to go max. What do I need to do then? Do I need to be in a breakaway, right? To meter my effort properly? Okay, well then where am I going to go? Where am I going to attack? Right? Am I just going to sit on? Okay, well, how is this going to just be fast and hard the whole time? Okay, well, what do I need to do to make sure that I am in the most efficient position possible all the time? Right. So on this race course, if it's crosswind, I'm not leaving the top 10. Right. I would not go farther back than 10th on this course in a really crosswindy race. Because I know if something happens in a crosswind section and I'm 10 wheels plus back, day done for me. I'm done. Right. Bigger guy that can ride the wind. Okay, maybe you can go a little bit farther back. So it's being able to read the course, know yourself, and be able to make those adjustments and decisions.
And in your experience, how soon before the race, like, are you looking at this data an hour or two before the race, or is the night before? Is the forecast usually, in terms of wind, fairly like predictable?
I would look at it morning of. I would look at it before you start your warm up. Just have a quick look at the wind. Also, when you're warming up, just look at a flag. Feel which cheek the wind is hitting. Like it. You can look at it night before and make a plan and be anxious about it, or you can show up day of, knowing the course profile, see what the wind is doing, and then make your decision and make your race plan based off of that. So it's not about so much when you are looking at data. It's not about when you find this information out. It's knowing what information you need and then how to use that information, regardless of whether it's the Thunderbird Spring Series race, Victoria Fondo, provincial road race, provincial crit, provincial time trial. Just having the knowledge to go, okay, well, here's the course. Here's a climb. Here's what the wind's doing. Here's what I think here's how it may affect that. I typically would show up. I'd usually look at the course profile the night before, especially if it was a stage race. I just wouldn't even think about, I know there was a big stage coming up, but I wouldn't look at it until the night before. And then I would look at the wind that night and then relook at the wind in the morning and then see what it looked like when I showed up, so that I would know, okay, the wind was going to do this and it meant this for this whole course. The wind has changed. What does it mean for this whole course? Most spring series races, to be honest with you, or things like this, I would show up completely blind, wouldn't check anything, just line up on the start line. And you know pretty quickly once you've started that there's a crosswind, I need to get, like, this is what's going to happen. So it's being able to make those decisions on the fly as well. Does that answer your question, Sage? Be better
big
than
time.
I was at spring series.
What's that?
Be better than I was at spring series.
Dude, I've gotten caught out so many times just from the gun, not realizing that like the first straightaway after the first corner is a crosswind, and then just assuming that everyone's gonna noodle like neutral start, and it's just all out.
Yeah, totally. And you've got guys that are sitting doing this bullshit the night before, going, guy on a Zoom call, like, guys, we're gonna go flat out first fucking straight away. We're gonna blow all the people that haven't looked at this course profile off the back. Yeah, fair enough.
Would you be down to do a little Zoom call with whoever's racing like the first spring series just to practice doing this?
Totally.
Or not even spring series, but whatever the first what is it? I don't know.
It's this one. It's Thunderbird. It's this course we're looking
Oh
at.
yeah. But what's the local ride? Isn't there
Oh yeah, local ride, whatever. Spring series.
Yeah. Oh, is that the same? It's the same.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, sweet, nice, okay.
Hey, Brendan, any thoughts on, you know, I'm new to racing, new to road racing. I don't know any of the guys that I'd be racing against. How do you learn to position yourself in the pack when you don't know? Like I can show up to a crit race and I know the guys are strong, but like a road race, especially out in the valley, I have no idea who some of these guys are. So how do you
Totally.
learn to position yourself in the top 10 if you don't know the riders?
This is gonna sound really simple and smartass, and I don't mean it that way.
No, that's fine.
Be in the top 10.
Okay.
I don't care if it's Chris Froome and frickin' Mark Cavendish, or like, people that have never raced their bike before. Don't care.
Okay.
Be in the top 10. It boils down to race your race. That's it.
Okay.
You might have you might know that frickin', Johnny Brown is the strongest Cat 5 guy, but if he doesn't know that there's a crosswind section and he's at the back and you're at the front and you drill it, he's gone.
Okay.
Right. So it's racing your race, and understanding these just sort of more basic principles, and then being able to apply them. And that will, positioning, just ride into the top 10, like literally just ride up next to the guys in the top 10. People, I think it's fair. It can be hard not to overthink, but if you want to be in the top 10, that's your plan. Make sure you're in the top 10, whatever you need to do, short of crashing people. Does that answer your question in not a smart ass way?
No, it's all good. Yeah. Like that's perfect. Yeah.
Any other questions? Monty, you've been quiet this whole time.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions. I've been enjoying listening.
Enjoying the Zoom call your dad made you join?
I think it was worth it.
Good.
Yeah, it's been good. Do you think this race would come to a sprint, or do you think it would be a breakaway? Like on this course with the wind conditions?
I think so if we go back here and we look at our windy conditions, we can look at somewhere. We can look at wind speed. Yeah, so we can look at wind speed 1.4, 1.2, 1.0. I think it'll be a sprint if it's that little wind speed. Crosswinds are not going to be that difficult. On this course, there's not a ton of places to blow it apart. They're walking back together. And so I think good chance are it will be a sprint finish, potentially a reduced group sprint.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, there's two ways a bike race can finish, right? There's only two.
Yeah.
It can either end in a breakaway or end in a sprint. So two guys could roll off the front, and people could look at each other the whole race. I think it depends on how. So if I were looking at this course for a high level race, I'd say sprint for sure. Because you have teams in there going, okay, this is a sprint stage. Like there's less than 100 meters of elevation per lap. We're making this a sprint stage. Fuck it. And they would draw the brake back. With spring series racing, reach into a hat, pick it out.
Yeah.
It depends on the day. It depends on who's not hungover. It depends on. It's beer league racing, man. It's like, who knows how it's gonna go. People watch breakaways roll up the road all the time, and they go, nah. And there's no teams to drill it back at any level. Barely in the Cat 1-2s. Like nobody has any cohesion to bring a break back in the Cat 1-2s.
There's like 12 red kilo guys in the Cat 3 or something. There's so many of them.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you're in a break with one of those guys, be in the break with one of those guys. Like, yeah, that's be the break. Yeah. And a good note, general note with spring series racing is it's freaking spring series racing. Like, why are you not going for the breaks? Why are you not, for somebody like you who's in Cat 3 coming into junior next year, very, very strong, go for breaks, man. If you bonk and pull out of the race, 4 laps to go, who gives a shit? Like,
yeah.
Right. But you went for the break, and you're going to learn so much more going for the break than sitting in the group and going for 5th in the sprint. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares who won, first of all, at least 5th in the sprint. But if you can gain knowledge on, okay, I'm gonna let the break go and I'm gonna bridge to it, or die trying. That is the value of these races, primarily. Same for you, Seiji, right? It's learning how to do this, taking every single opportunity. Same for you, Andrew, right? It's sharing if you want to race. Like, these are learning experiences. And if you go out and you try to get in the breakaway and you spend the first 20 minutes trying to get in the break and you blow up and you turn left into the car park, awesome, fantastic, right? The outcome is a success if you've learned how to apply something.
I think that was my issue, is every spring series I'd try to get in the break, blow up, and I learned nothing.
Yeah, totally. So learn.
Yeah.
So learn.
But in the past, I was never really like analyzing it or actually realizing why I was blowing up or where I was, burning my matches or even thinking about it. So I think actually having like the knowledge to critically think about it, then I can actually apply it to, even if I'm failing, I'm have the knowledge to learn from it.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Like, maybe you attack here. You guys can see my cursor. Maybe you attack here and you blow up here, and the main attack goes here, and everybody's up the road by here, and then you're back to the car by here. Or are you waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting because this is a crosswindy section through here, and the top of the climb is here, and the break is more likely to go here. And if you wait and it goes and you get in the break and you get here and you blow up and you wind up back at the car here, I would call that a massive success over the first option. because you analyzed it and you went, actually, I think this is going to happen. And you made the move and you made the move and you blew up and you went back to the car versus going bang and then the race going. So especially for like Seiji and for young guys, be thinking learning. For you, Monty, like be thinking learning. Like Andrew, Sharon, you guys are learning how to race. It's all learn how to sit in. Spend a spring series learning how to sit in efficiently. Do nothing. Right? Spend that weekend doing that and come out with that knowledge goal. Yeah, that'd be my only advice. So anyway, I'm, like to your point, Sage, I think a lot of guys are doing exactly what you did. They're just throwing hammers until either something sticks or they get lucky or their teammate goes up the road and they go, woo. Very few people have the tools in their arsenal to critically and now analyze a course like this the way we've just done. The amount of guys that I have raced with locally that have no idea where the wind's coming from boggles my mind. Like that's, and for you, Monty, if you decide to continue with cycling and you're on a professional team, that is part and parcel of your professional skill set, is knowing where the wind's coming from every single day at all times. So anyway, I'm going to stop babbling. I think we'll probably call it there. Does anybody have any last quick questions? We've got about 2 minutes left before my my cheap ass Zoom call gimps out on me.
No, all good. Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you taking the time. It's been super insightful. Stoked to learn.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan.
I'm just not sure if me looking at this course and talking to you for the last about 15 minutes. I'm not sure if me being more nervous now is good or bad, but we'll figure that out later.
Means you care, Andrew. It's you're excited. But just use these tools. Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time. If you have any other topics that you want to do more of these, I would love to do another one of these. I thoroughly enjoy this. So if you have any other topics, just shoot me an email. Shoot me, hey, can we do a Zoom about this? And I'll gather information and put it out there. And because nobody else is doing this stuff. So
yeah, awesome.
I'm stoked, man. So guys, thank you for coming.
I would love
Thanks,
for you to do
Brendan.
more.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brendan.
Take
Have a
her
good night, bud.
Have a good night.
That's awesome. Good night.
Good night, guys. Take her easy.